I've been doing some live streaming and playing numerous different characters here. I've got a Gimling Legionnaire that I started off with a Mace build, and I played a Witch, Infernalist, which was kind of fun, but I just can't really get into the pet class thing, and I ended up making yet another Witch, but I went Blood Mage. And while I didn't originate the idea of going Hexblast with the Blood Mage, I looked over the skill tree, looked up a couple of different build guides of what people were doing, and none of them really fit exactly what I was wanting to achieve. So I kind of made my own variant. So what we have here is she's 88 now. I leveled from level 1, actually level 2, when I got to the first town, and I was able to move out into the wilds without the skill gems that were given to me by the starting quest. Then from that point forward, I didn't use any pets, and just wanted to see if it was viable, and it was. It was challenging, but it was viable. So, excuse me. So in Act 1, if I were to go back here to say Act 1 Cruel, because I'm so much higher level, if I were to go into Clearfell, following the kill method that I used in the early game, there are some skills that don't unlock until much later. Like Hexblast, I think you had to be level 41 or 42 just to be able to use that skill. So how do you level without the main ability? It was a matter of using Corruption to get a dot on the mobs, and then using Essence Drain to throw at damage over time. So they wouldn't die that fast, obviously, when I was that level, but you just spread the dot around by infecting one monster and then killing something nearby, and then it spreads around, and you just kind of kite everything, try to keep them balled up to where they're dying from the damage over time, and you want that to spread to the nearby enemies. And I'm doing so much damage now that I can't really demonstrate that very well, but the basic gist of it is the same. You corrupt, and then you infect with Essence Drain, and the damage over time will eventually kill these off, and it'll keep spreading. There we go. You can see the corruption makes them purple, where they're taking damage over time damage. Once you get access to the totem, what is it called? Dark Effigy. Dark Effigy will expedite the process quite a bit by putting a damage over time totem out that will shoot at the infected monsters. And it doesn't care how many monsters are. For every monster that's infected, it shoots a projectile at the monster for each dot. So if you're struggling with killing things, you can drop the totem, Dark Effigy. If we look at the specifics of it, where's that here? Dark Effigy. So raise the totem that bombards enemies with chaos damage over time. So if I hit Alt and I go up here to the Vial of Fusion, so anytime they're afflicted by a chaos damage over time debuff, it fires projectiles at the enemy for each debuff. I don't have a whole lot of maps available, so I'll just grab like a level 11, and we'll give it a little bit of stats. Just enough to have a chance at a Waystone. Temporal Chains, Transcendent Monsters. Okay, fine. Oh, let's find something to do. Corrupted Tower. I don't care. We'll see if I can pull this off. This area is tightly packed. So, corruption. Direct target. Oh, there's a name in there. Come on. I'm going to Hexblast him down because even though he's a little lower level, they can still kill you. So, as I was saying, we can drop a totem down there, and it'll actually act as a means to get the attention of the enemies. I drop the totem, things will focus it. So it's almost like a target dummy in World of Warcraft. Drop another totem, and they're already dead. So the key is get the corruption out, throw the dot, and just watch things die. This can be a bit tedious in closed quarters like this because it's just like, oh, okay, just gotta get into the next area. But once you get up to Hexblast, that's when you change things up a bit, and you start trying to work on expanding your area of effect and area of effect of curses. So as far as skills go and gear, we probably should talk about the skill tree. The equipment that I'm using, I've got two equipment sets. Both of them use a wand, and the one is a focus, the other one is a shield. The shield is, I'm using the unique specifically for active block and not impairing my movement speed. Because if you're running through a pack of a lot of small projectiles, it's handy to be able to just shift right click. That's what I've got my my button bound to. Hang on, gotta kill this. There's a name in there. By my control, I went into my key bindings and I put raise shield on shift, left or right click. So when I hit shift and right click or left click, I'm blocking. And I can use WASD to move around. With this shield, I'm not impeded on my movement speed, so I can just keep on trucking. It's pretty handy. So, blocking as I go in. And then that's weapon set 2. And I have the ability set to only use that skill on a weapon set 2. And I just blow things up. And these little essences I'm grabbing are another skill. We'll get to that in a minute. The weapon that I'm using, I bought this off of the trade site for 2 Exalteds, which I felt like was a great deal because of the 106% crit chance. And, you know, yes, plus 1 level to all chaos skills isn't much, but I'm picking up a little bit elsewhere, like plus 2 from my focus. If you go too high, you end up with such a life cost that is not sustainable unless you're fighting large packs of monsters. When you get to a boss, you'd be chugging potions enough to where you run out of charges before the boss is dead, even though you can do more damage. A lot of the bosses, they can survive a full barrage of hex blasts, even if you're hitting them for 50, 60,000 damage per hit, which is not uncommon. I hit bosses usually about 100,000 to 120,000 damage per second when I'm spamming. They die pretty quickly, but you can definitely run out of life from casting repeatedly. The other equipment that I'm using, I don't think I have any other uniques. No, I don't. So this is doing it on a budget. I picked this one up. It was a blue. I threw or what is it called, a royal on it, I think it is, and turned it rare, and it ended up with a item rarity on it. It hit double rarity, I believe. Yeah, so it's got 2 rarity affixes, but they combine into one to give it 42%. And with 273 energy shield, a little bit of mana, and critical hit chance, I was like, yeah, I think I'll just use that. So that's really what we're fishing for, is critical hit chance in every piece of gear that you can find it on, and critical damage bonus anywhere else. So on my amulet, I've allocated Vulgar Methods. This is a passive skill that's way over here on the left by itself, that has a 35% increased crit hit chance and reduces your mana and gives you 10 strength. So it's a little bit of life, but totally worth it to slot that for a crit build. I was over 100% crit, but I swapped out my shield. I had a focus that was, I want to say, 96% critical hit chance for spells, and that put me over 100% total, but getting +2 skill levels and getting the chaos damage as well as intelligence was pretty helpful. So, find what you can, where you can, and kind of mix and match until you make the thing work. Really, the break point is at about 80% crit chance when your spec is Blood Mage, and you have the passive node here for Sun to the Flesh, because the base critical hit chance for pretty much all the spells that we would use is 7% normally. So until you get this Ascendancy point, you are looking at maybe 45 to 50% crit. That's when you spam that ability that throws out like an ice thing and makes things vulnerable to crit. It increases your critical hit chance base by up to 5%. It's pretty handy, but it's just against that specific monster. Going back to the equipment here. So we talked about the helm. Increased crit chance. Rarity is helpful at this stage of the game until they patch it. The amulet, I've got 38 spirit on it, just enough to sustain my passive skills, my spirit-based skills. The dexterity was not necessary, but that's what I got. Rings, pretty much went with resistances, rarity, life, and mana. And nothing to write home about. I probably should replace those, but for the time being, they're doing their job. Chest piece, as high energy shield as I could get with enough spirit to maintain my abilities, and resistances. So I'm sure you're noticing a trend here. Boots, at least 25% movement speed. I would like to get a 30, but I'm always broke and can't afford to buy things. So this is what I've found up to this point. For belt, a stun threshold. The heavy belt has a percentage increase on stun threshold, and this particular one had 256 with lightning and fire resistance. That's the main reason I'm wearing this belt, because nothing sucks more than to walk into a pack of really weak trash monsters, but getting hit enough times to get stunned out of your cast, even from weak monsters, and then you die because you were stunned. It sucks. So stun threshold, something to definitely sink some points into. If you can find something like this, if you don't have it elsewhere, then this is a pretty decent choice. For gloves, obviously some resistances, critical damage bonus, life and mana and intelligence. The accuracy rating, again, don't need it. I probably should look for a new pair of these, because 50 energy shield is kind of weak for this level. So as for charm, I run with the thawing charm primarily because I've been frozen too many times and killed because of it. If you watch any of my other videos, you'll see that. I post a lot of videos of, oh, I'm clearing a T15 map, and then I get frozen and I die. You know, it just happens. So let's move on to the passive tree. So for passive, there are a couple of different options you can go with. You can go with just stat stacking, going up here with intelligence if you like, or strength for life. But I prefer to give as much damage as possible. Although I don't have minions, increased spell damage does contribute to how much damage we do. Pick up the spell damage and intelligence. I'm going across here for cast speed. The base cast time on Hexblast is 1 second. So we've got it down to 0.74 through cast speed nodes and items. Increase energy shield, and then more energy shield, recharge rate, and stun threshold. And up this way, we've got critical hit chance for spells, crit chance for spells, crit chance for spells. I'm sure you get the idea. While I was leveling, this is the path that I followed. I went up, came across, picked up these to get the energy shield bonus, and then I made my way up here, cut over to the right, and picked up these. I had this node at some point, and I refunded it, thinking, okay, I'll just come back, circle back around and pick that up next time when I've got a point, because I needed crit chance more. But yes, when you're starting out, before you get the crit chance and you're just dotting everything, especially early game, put these points in on the left side, get the maximum energy shield and regen rate, because it will save you. I did pick up melding at some point because mana wasn't really as big of a concern, because it's about, you cast the dot on one monster, you hit it with a essence drain, and it's double dotted. You might shoot a essence drain a couple of times, but once that monster dies and it spreads its damage over time to everything nearby, then it just starts propagating outward and you're not spending mana. You can, of course, spam some skills, but you don't have to. It's all about playstyle. So yes, I would recommend the melding skill, especially early game, because of the amount of energy shield that it grants. Moving on over here, we picked up critical hit, and critical hit. And then straight up to the chaos damage. And increased skill effect duration that makes those damage over time effects from contagion last longer, so you don't have to recast them as often. Then I came over here for curse area of effect much later. I didn't pick these up right away because you don't get curses in the early game that are really worth casting. Instead, once I picked up this little cluster here, I came back up and went straight up the tree, picked up this critical hit chance, and then all the way up, picked up this gem. About the time that I got to this point was when I was at the level where curses started coming into play. So you want to be able to cast 2 curses. So this is a must-have if you're playing a Hexblast build, because you want to be able to apply 2 curses and blast them both off, and you're doing double damage from what it would be with a single. Coming across, spell critical chance, crit chance on the left, and crit chance on the top. My next purchases after I pick up this guy down here is going to be to circle back around and pick up all these critical spell damage bonuses, because they really start stacking up. So this is for energy shield again. Slower start of energy shield recharge rate isn't as impactful when you're running what was it, Grim Feast, I believe it's called. Yeah, Grim Feast. When you kill a monster, there's a 50% chance to drop a little orb, a soul orb, and when you run over the corpse, you pick that up and it recharges your shield. So recharge rate isn't as impactful as you would think. Coming down this way, we've got cast speed. Absolutely important, critical ability to have. Cast speed will save you, because it's a pretty long cast time anyway, and you're casting it multiple times per encounter typically, because the radius on Hexblast, although it's decent, it's hard to get it to where it fills the whole screen. Even though, I'm doing things with my gems. You can see increased area of effect of curses, this gem, increased area of effect, and this one, spell damage, critical hit chance, energy shield recharge rate, elemental, minions, doesn't matter. But nonetheless, as you're picking up gems, area of effect and area of effect of curses, those are the two primary stats you want to go for. Critical hit chance is also very good to have, especially if you're not at the cap yet. So coming down this way, I believe I picked up this critical hit chance node first. And this is one that I thought about allocating through emotions. That's suffering, envy, and greed, which are all pretty cheap, relatively inexpensive. And the loss of the critical bonus is worth it if you're going to crit 50% more. Extra chaos damage at the end there, that's literally adds tax on extra damage for everything you do. If I wasn't just doing chaos damage, if I was casting, firebolt or something like that, then it would tack on extra chaos damage on everything I do, which is, kind of handy. But if you sum all these up, you're talking 55% more damage from chaos. Handy. Coming down, dead ending at this loop here. My particular choice was to come here because of the critical damage bonuses. They get pretty big. I lost 20% crit hit chance there. That's what brought me below the 100% mark. But worth it, in my opinion, because like 95% of the time, one cast out of 20 isn't a crit, or one monster out of a pack of 20 isn't a crit, and you can just finish that one off. The explosion radius on Hexblast is pretty good too. And this here, of course, is just chaos damage and plus 1 level of all chaos skills. That's where that extra bonus came from. Going across to the left side, we pick up chaos damage here and the reduced resistance chance. That gem there, critical hit chance for spells, area of effect. I've got a time loss sapphire here, granting spell damage, cast speed, and auras from my skills. Auras from my skills, I don't really know if that even works, but if I go up here, where's aura? Blasphemy. It is marked as an aura, so I would say that yes, that is taking effect. So that is slotted in next to critical damage, and that's critical damage, and let's see, the root of that without the gem is just 25% increased critical damage bonus. Up here, we've picked up energy shield and maximum mana across all these nodes. This is for area of effect. And at the end, it's 20% increased area of effect. I've considered coming around here for increased area of effect as well, and that one has increased area damage. So as I approach 100, I may circle back here, but I'm going to be focusing on critical damage bonus next once I pick up this node here. But that's pretty much the skill or the passive tree. For skills, I mentioned it before. Life remnants is granted from the Ascendancy, so it's the first one you get. Skills gain a base life cost skills gain a base life cost equal to base mana cost. So if you reduce the mana cost, or if you find some way to redirect life costs into mana, I think that if you were to pick up this node over here, that might eliminate the need for mana entirely. I don't think that it would double the cost. I guess we'll find out. Nonetheless, life remnants. This is, again, there's no getting around this one. You have to pick it up. And when I was first starting out, I went with life leech from spell damage. That kept me alive much better. And then when I got my third ascendancy, I switched from life leech and made my way around this way and picked up the Sunder the Flesh for the increased base critical chance, which more than doubled it. Life remnants. When you kill a monster, a little blood orb will spawn every 2 seconds, or if you critically hit. And because we're critically hitting so much, there are these little orbs spawning all over the place, so it's pretty easy to maintain. Vitality, I'm running for life regen. Clarity for mana regen. And then cannibalism, this is an absolute must-have. A 4% life recovered on kill while it's active. This does not require spirit to run, so you can just slot it here, and it's always active, even though it's done a little swirly thing. Hexblast. Again, this is based on curses that are present, so you have to be running blasphemy or casting curses. Wait for the curse to propagate and activate on the enemy before you can blast it off. So blasphemy is a must-have for it to work. The effect of blasphemy reduces the effectiveness of the curses, and as you level up the skill, its effectiveness gets better. And I think at like level 10 or so, it's like 50% less effective. The buff, this quality of the gem, really good idea. 10% reduced reservation if you get it to 20% quality. That's like, I think, 4 gem cutters prisms, because they go up at 5% per click. So 4 gem cutters prisms can save you 12 spirit, because you're socketing 2 different abilities. So the ones that I'm running is Despair to reduce the enemy's chaos resistance when I get near them, and the other is Temporal Chains, which is to slow them down. Ritualistic Curse makes it to where they have a bigger area of effect, and Expanse, bigger area of effect, and adds a cooldown which does nothing because it's an aura. Good to have these two in tandem. So you're running Blasphemy, you've got 2 curses as an aura, you're running with gems and different passive nodes on your skill tree that are expanding the radius of the aura, the radius of your curses, and the radius of Hexblast, which is just an area of effect skill. It's also called Payoff, but I haven't found anything to benefit from the Payoff node of it. This one, quality, 20%. And you can see here when I mouse over it, or hold Alt, 20% more chaos damage. So you literally 4 gems, or gem cutters prisms, and you are getting 20% more damage from less than an exalt in cost. Magnified effect, bigger area of effect. Concentrated effect, smaller area of effect but more damage, and you can see that it changes drastically there. Inspiration for less cost, both life and mana. Cast speed, must have. Considered casting, less cast speed means it's slower but more damage. And Chaos Mastery increased the level. I have played around a little bit with Chaos Mastery, moving it down here to Essence Drain to, what is it? This one, Essence Drain. Freeze buildup. This works pretty well with Contagion. So if you put Chaotic Freeze, there it is. Chaos damage contributes to freeze buildup for hits against targets taking damage over time from supported skills. So when you hit a boss, you immediately, or a rare, you immediately want to start with Contagion to get a potential to freeze them. And then you hit them with Essence Drain, because the damage over time ticks, and it has a chance to cause them to be frozen. And then every time you hit them with Hexblast, because Contagion is active on the enemy, they freeze pretty quickly. I'll try to demonstrate that in a moment. Profane Ritual, I think I mentioned earlier, is basically consumes a corpse, and I just keep it slotted right next to Hexblast so I can quickly swap these gems and move between boss and packs. Essence Drain, Withered. Played around with other things. Withered seems to work pretty well. It increases the damage that the monster takes from chaos damage, and it stacks up to 10 times. So if I'm fighting a monster that's really tanky or has high chaos resistance, just spam spam Essence Drain on it, hit it multiple times, and there's 3 projectiles, so each one can be a hit. That's 3 stacks. And Scatter Shot, obviously, is what's causing it to be 3. Grim Feast, I think I mentioned that. When you kill a monster, 50% chance to drop a little spirit. You pick it up, you recharge your energy shield, and can overcharge it by 100%. Dark Effigy, this is a little totem that I mentioned earlier. I've got that on my F key. And this actually, it's almost like a low-level target dummy in World of Warcraft, if you ever played that. So a lot of people enjoy the hardcore WoW classic these days. Target dummies are a big favorite. If you're going into a big pack of monsters, you can drop this and get their attention and then step back a little bit, and it buys you a second or two for them to cast on this thing. Even though it might die in one hit, it buys you a cast frame. But the Dark Effigy, I've got that slotted with acceleration so they cast more quickly. Swift Affliction, and Envenom. So it poisons. Ice Nova I keep handy for those situations where things are just close and I need to just knock them back. That can be helpful. Shield Charge, I've got slotted for the shield. I did that really for the 4th Ascension boss, which I almost killed, and then I got frozen in time and tapped to death. But that's bound to my T, and you may notice if I go here at the bottom right, you can see used with weapon set. I've got it unticked from 1 and it's checked on 2. Hexblast, my primary attack, I've got it unchecked on 2, so it only casts with weapon set 1. So if I just have to get between enemies, I just can hit T, and you charge across the map pretty quickly. That does have a cooldown, but it on that final boss in the Trial of Secamus, where he makes you step on the little orbs in whatever sequence, but they're hard to get to, the shield charge can get you through quite a bit. You literally start at one side of the map. Oh, we got a name. Come on, where are you at? Oh, he's a mana drainer. Lovely. Oh, come on. Can't do a damn thing. You sapped all my mana. Anyway. So I hit this dude with Corruption, and then I hit him with this, and you can see it spread. I was trying to freeze him, but they died too quick. So this is a basic play style of it. These monsters, you see the little hex appear over their head. That means they're in range, and you just kind of keep moving. And you just keep right-clicking, and the blast removes those curses, but because it's an aura, it reapplies instantly. And you can just keep spamming the button. And the area of effect makes the size of that explosion much larger, as is obvious, I think. Until you get some area of effect bonuses, you're not going to see that kind of radius. But I'm working on getting it better. Items would help, I'm sure. So that pretty much sums it up, I think. The caveat of this is energy shield is really, really important, but so is life, because if you run out of life, you can't cast, even if you got energy shield left. So you have to stack some life in your build, in items, or on the skill tree. But the high-level versions of Hexblast require 191 intelligence for the level 19 gem. Probably over 200 for the level 20, and the spell cost gets pretty high. Okay, we got a couple of rares here. Come on. Trying to... Oh, tell me this dude's got proximity. So you get the idea. 2 rares at once. I'll try to edit this down and get it up on YouTube, and thanks for watching.